It is Monday, October 12th, 2020. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was a non-virtual get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Monday. Man, as far as like what we actually did today, it's kind of hard to explain. It was a transition from like if somebody's doing like a knee slide on you to converting that into a triangle situation. And I had a lot of difficulty with it. I'm not going to lie. There's a point on it where you can actually pause for a moment, you know, at least in the drilling situation. And for whatever reason, I kept skipping over it. And I think that was what was really making a difference in my ability to get my foot around my opponent's arm. There's a spot in it where they call it jumping rope. And I think what my problem was is that I had my hips too far back on my opponent. I had to have my hips closer up towards his shoulders, and that would have made it easier for me to get my leg around his arm and switch it over to a triangle position. But one of the things that was happening because of the way I got my leg around his arm was that I wasn't getting him with a traditional triangle kind of thing. I mean, it was a triangle, but it wasn't really a triangle in the sense of like a pliers type kind of, or a scissors. I mean, it was more a pliers type of triangle than scissors. And you guys that work your triangles, you know what I'm talking about. But I was hooking behind his arm to pull myself in tight enough, and the thing I was doing on my legs that was a little bit different was I was pushing against his tricep with one thigh and had the other thigh across his throat, and I was squeezing my knees together and extending my feet out. And when I would do that, I looked, his face was getting red. And he was like, tap, 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 tap. And like, I didn't think I had him at first, but, like I said, his face was quite red. So yes, I had him pretty good. But like I said, it was that one little adjustment. And I was even scooting my hips out towards the end. But like I said, for whatever reason, I wasn't getting my legs together properly, and so I would hook my ankles together and then squeeze my knees together. And when I did that, I was able to apply the right pressure to his throat for him to tap out. But yeah, so it's definitely a triangle setup that I'm going to have to work on quite a bit. I think, like I said, I think that if I would have my hips further out during the portion, there's a portion where you've got them in rubber guard and you're trying to transition from rubber guard, right? And I think the problem is that I've got my hips too far back during the rubber guard. That, after I get rubber guard, I should probably post up on my arm and try and scoop my hips out just a little bit and get a better angle on that, and I think it would probably help me secure my rubber guard a little bit tighter as well. But anyway, I think that because of the way I was doing it, that's where I was, running into difficulty. Anyway, it's something like if that were if it were gi'd jiu-jitsu, you'd like reach in under your opponent's right arm and grab the left lapel and hold them down with the left lapel, and then bring your leg up higher for that rubber guard position. And by pulling down like that on the lapel, it would allow you to get your hips adjusted, like I'm talking about, with getting your hips further up towards their shoulder, so that you can get that leg around their arm and transition it over to a really, really tight triangle. But yeah, it's something that I'm definitely gonna have to work on. I feel that I can do it, and I feel that it would probably be something that I do incorporate into my typical game. But yeah, like I said, the setup for it was just a little bit difficult for me, and I don't know. For some reason, my program's hanging up now. There we go. But yeah, I'm gonna have to spend like at least a month drilling on that, and I guess I'm gonna have to change my jiu-jitsu schedule because they're changing the schedule, and I hate it when that happens. Because I guess they're turning the hour that I've been working out into just like a warm-up session. So I don't know. I have to rearrange everything on my schedule. I'm sure it won't be too difficult because I've got a relatively flexible schedule, but just the same, I like to have everything set up a certain way as far as like how I arrange my schedule. And I really like doing this show like right after I do jiu-jitsu because I've got it fresh in my mind what I was doing. I've still got my impressions from it and whatnot. And so, yeah, I'm not real happy about that. Oh well. It may afflict the show and it may not. I don't know. We'll find out. But yeah, so triangle setups from an attempted knee slice on the part of your opponent. But yeah, I think that is something that I worked quite a bit with regard in gi. But there's just a lot of difference between working it with a gi and working it without a gi. Like you would get the overhook, but you could either hold the left lapel over the arm or even under the arm. And if you did it under the arm, then you had the overhook and the lapel grab. And that's pretty tight. And if you add on top of that a rubber guard, I mean, your opponent isn't going anywhere. They're going to be dragging you wherever they go. But yeah, I miss my gi. Anyway, let's go ahead and open it up with some music. I know it's kind of short on the jiu-jitsu stuff, but what are you going to do, right? But as far as where we're going to go, we're going to start off with some body count. If my program ever stops hanging up on me here. And I haven't been playing anything off Carnivore lately. I don't think any of the shows last week, I don't think I played anything off of Carnivore. We're going to have to fix that up. And so here it is, body count, Carnivore, here on Coin Metal, First Dance. Assuming this program's actually going to work for me. It's like playing Helmet. It's like, no, I don't want to. Here we go. And that was Static X with Permanence. And so, as far as what we're going to get into today, I did go through and grab a few tabs from a few different sources. And it's funny, I thought there was something tying up my computer, and what it really was is my heat sink is just all plugged up with gunk, so I gotta blow that out as soon as I get off of this show. But I did a temporary fix, kind of manually blew it out, and but the rest of it would require shutting down and all that. But I think we'll get by as is for the moment, at least. But so yeah, I got this thing here. It's on bitcoin.com, or news.bitcoin.com rather, because it does have a news site. And this is by Kevin Helms, and this is authored way too long ago. I thought this is a little more current one. Oh, here it is, yes. 6 stimulus packages have been proposed to provide second direct payments to Americans. Oh, and yes, penis. 6 stimulus packages have been proposed to provide second stimulus checks for Americans. The latest proposal came from the White House on Friday. Several stimulus bills are being discussed as Americans hope to soon receive another round of direct payments to help them through the coronavirus pandemic-led economic crisis. Actually, I pinned that one on governors and mayors. They're the ones that did the shutdown. 6 stimulus packages, blah, blah, blah. Americans are waiting for Congress to pass a stimulus package with direct payments as many are suffering due to the coronavirus-led economic crisis. Since the CARES Act provided the first round of stimulus checks, a number of stimulus relief aid packages have been proposed with similar direct payments to Americans. The latest proposal came from the White House on Friday. After the $3.4 trillion HEROES Act, which provides a second round of stimulus checks for Americans, was stalled in the Senate, a revised version of the act was introduced at the end of September with the same direct payment proposal. This bill, which is expected to cost about $2.2 trillion, has been approved by House Democrats. Since its introduction, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has been in constant discussion with Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin on the bill. However, the two could not come to an agreement so far, and Mnuchin proposed a $1.6 trillion stimulus package counteroffer. According to Mnuchin, his proposal is similar to a $1.5 trillion stimulus proposal by the Problem Solvers Caucus, a 50-member bipartisan group, which also provides for $1,200 direct payments to Americans. As talks between Mnuchin and Pelosi heated up, President Donald Trump made a surprise move to call off stimulus negotiations between Democrats and Republicans until after the election. However, hours later, he called on Congress to approve a standalone stimulus bill to immediately give stimulus checks to Americans. Pelosi refused to consider the standalone bill. Yeah, because they got all kinds of bullshit tied up in this quote-unquote HEROES Act. And I don't know that I actually want to go through all of it today, but it's not just the $1,200 payments. There's a whole bunch of bullshit that they tried to add to it, and that's why Republicans have been hesitant to try and pass it. And why President Trump presented the standalone stimulus bill instead. To immediately give stimulus checks to Americans, Pelosi refused to consider this standalone bill. Yeah, she wants to extort fucking Americans, the fate of Americans, for her fucking her shit that she wants. Continuing on. As stimulus negotiations between Democrats and Republicans resumed, with Pelosi pushing the $2.2 trillion HEROES Act, the White House announced Friday that it has increased its stimulus package offer to $1.8 trillion, which Trump has approved. The latest proposal also contains another round of $1,200 direct payments to Americans. Trump tweeted Friday, quote, "COVID relief negotiations are moving along. Go big." However, in a letter to her caucus on Saturday, Pelosi called the White House's plan, quote, insufficient, and said it amounted to, quote, one step forward, 2 steps back. Yeah, because you don't have that cudgel that you can fucking hold over Americans' heads. Sources also told NBC News that Senate Republicans have expressed opposition to this offer in a call on Saturday with Mnuchin and White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. Pelosi claims that the Trump administration's proposal lacks a strategic plan to contain the spread of coronavirus and has inadequate funding for state and local governments and financial relief for American families. Yeah, that's basically, they want to continue to enforce these bullshit mandates, and they need funding for that. And it's not coming from state coffers anymore. It's not coming from property taxes. It's not coming from gas taxes. It's not coming from excise taxes or alcohol taxes. Anyway, continuing on. Time is running out for Congress to pass the stimulus package before the November presidential election. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said Friday that a coronavirus stimulus relief aid approval is, quote, unlikely in the next 3 weeks. Not only must Pelosi and Mnuchin agree on a deal and finalize the stimulus bill, but the bill would also have to go through both the Democratic-held House and GOP-controlled Senate. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell urged Congress last week to pass more fiscal stimulus. He warned that failing to do so could, quote, lead to a weak recovery, creating unnecessary hardship for households and businesses, emphasizing his view that Congress had a limited risk of overdoing relief. Meanwhile, Pelosi has questioned Trump's health following the presidential testing positive for coronavirus. Actually, he recently tested negative, so yeah, there you go. She indicated her intention to discuss the 25th Amendment, which allows for the vice president to become acting president if it is determined that the president is, quote, unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. Yeah, that's the plan for fucking Biden. They want to get him in there. They want to hit that 25th Amendment. Nobody's going to argue. The next in line is Kamala Harris. And so on and so forth. An unelected person is now president. Do you think a stimulus package will be approved before the election? No. Let us know in the comments section below. Did anybody comment? I doubt it. Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't think they're going to approve any stimulus. And I think it's probably for the better that they don't. I mean, people are learning to adjust to what's going on now. And it's not going to be comfortable for everybody, but we are going to figure it out. You know, there is enough supply and demand going on out there that people can find a way. But yeah, stimulus, it's a bad proposal all the way around, just in that. Okay, so you get the $1,200, right? So then what? Then what? The $1,200 runs out. It will run out. I mean, you need it so you can buy shit that you need to keep you alive. So at some point or another, you know, you're gonna have to worry about that. You're going to have to worry about, where am I going to replace this $1,200 coming in from stimulus? Because it's not going to always be there. You know, so again, I don't agree with stimulus for that reason. Is that it allows you to maintain bad behavior, and that's, you know, there are probably things that you do need to adjust in your life, if only to improve your health, to lower your cost profile elsewhere, you know, like doctor visits and shit like that. It doesn't hurt to be a little prudent in your spending. Maybe not having 7 subscription services that you're getting your viewing pleasure from. Maybe rely on some more free services. Or better yet, using your same viewing time that you'd spend on Netflix watching YouTube videos on how to build shit, how to make stuff. Yeah, that's just my suggestion. Anyway, so I got this thing here. It's on thehill.com. Justice Department rolls out report detailing cryptocurrency security threats. And I checked it. It's 88 pages. So I decided to come back to this Hill article because we're not going to read that 88 page monstrosity. And anyway, this is by Maggie Miller, so no penis. This is authored on the 8th of October, 2020 at 3:54 p.m. EDT. Thank you very much, Maggie. Appreciate the specificity. The Justice Department on Thursday rolled out a framework for cryptocurrency enforcement, detailing increasing security concerns around the use of virtual currency. The Cryptocurrency Enforcement Framework, developed by the Attorney General's Cyber Digital Task Force, lays out the threats and enforcement challenges involved with the use of cryptocurrency, along with strategies used by the Justice Department in response. Quote, "Innovations in technology often change the world for the better, and yet criminals, terrorists, and rogue states can use those same innovations for their own illegitimate ends, imposing great costs on the public," the task force wrote in the report. Quote, "Today, few technologies are more potentially transformative and disruptive, and more potentially susceptible to abuse than cryptocurrency." That's not true. 3D printing. It's actually got its feet a little bit. Quote, "Despite its relatively brief existence, this technology already plays a role in many of the most significant criminal and national security threats our nation faces," Sujit Raman, the chair of the task force, wrote in the report's introduction, specifically highlighting concerns around the use of cryptocurrency for criminal activities and in money laundering schemes. The way to get around that is to make those criminal activities not criminal activities. And I mean, that's easy enough to do. Deregulate drugs, deregulate the energy market, deregulate telecoms, and all of a sudden, all of the things that we would potentially be doing to improve the human condition would suddenly no longer be crimes. Continuing on. Attorney General William Barr said in a statement Thursday that a report provides, quote, "a cohesive, first-of-its-kind framework for those seeking to understand federal enforcement priorities in this growing space." Quote, "Cryptocurrency is a technology that could fundamentally transform how human beings interact, how we organize society," Barr said. No, not really. Quote, "Ensuring that the use of this technology is safe, does not imperil our public safety or our national security, is vitally important to America and its allies." Okay, well, dude, you want that to happen? Get off our dick. Just get off our dick. Continuing on. FBI Director Christopher Wray also applauded the release of the enforcement framework. Quote, "As the FBI, we see firsthand the dangers posed when criminals bend the important technological promise of cryptocurrency to illicit ends," Wray said in a statement. Quote, "As this enforcement framework describes, we see criminals using cryptocurrency to try to prevent us from, quote, following the money across a wide range of investigations, as well as trading illicit goods like criminal tools on the dark web." He noted that, quote, "Cyber criminals behind ransomware attacks often use cryptocurrency to try to hide their true identities when acquiring malware and infrastructure and receiving ransom payments. The men and women of the FBI are constantly innovating to keep pace with the evolution of criminals' use of cryptocurrency. The Justice Department has taken a number of enforcement actions involving cryptocurrency, involving filing forfeiture charges in August against 280 cryptocurrency accounts for assisting in laundering millions of dollars stolen during 2 North Korean hacking incidents. The charges came 2 weeks after the Justice Department seized and dismantled cryptocurrency schemes run by terrorist groups Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and Al-Qassam brigades, Hamas's military wing. The more than 300 cryptocurrency accounts seized, along with millions of dollars, were used to raise money and awareness for the terrorist groups. Quote, confronting and addressing those threats is what good public policy should do, and what the crypto ecosystem may have to do if its vision of the future is ever fully to take hold, Rahman wrote. Meanwhile, federal authorities will continue vigorously enforcing the law as it exists and pursuing justice on behalf of the American people. You are so full of shit. So full of shit. The banks tell you every single day, oh, here's a suspicious transaction report. Here's a suspicious transaction report. Here's a suspicious transaction report. $10 billion suspicious transaction report. And the DOJ just ignores it because they know that shit is funding black ops elsewhere. Now, heaven forbid that somebody should be able to send money to their family in Colombia without rewarding a whole bunch of intermediaries in between. Heaven forbid. This is as far as I can tell from just the focus kind of demonstrated here in this article. And that's not much, you know. I'd be the first to admit they are probably just as likely at the hill to skew the information to their perspective as anybody else would be. But from the focus that I see here, it seems to me that things like terrorism and whatnot are being used to prevent future innovation here in America with regard to cryptocurrency. And see, as far as I can tell, that's a greater hindrance to us here in America than it is an assistant. And let me explain that a little bit. See, cryptocurrencies are kind of unique in that they're an international kind of incident or occurrence or disease. I don't know how to put that, but it's not just happening here in the United States. So if you're trying to regulate it, even on an international scale, there's always somebody out there who's not going to be playing by the rules. So now, rather than driving everything darker and darker and darker and more decentralized and off-chain and out of your view, rather than do that to it, you need to get really aggressive with all of your financial regulatory entities, and you need to say to them, look, we are done with you just doing this thing where you're just rewarding your friends and family and making sure they get executive positions so that later on they can get elected into office and get selected for non-elected positions that carry over after president administrations leave, those kind of things. That shit has to end. Because you're crafting this maze that only your select few are able to win through. And at the same time, you're using these regulatory borders to stop people from doing legitimate business. And the more you press them, the tighter you press them to criminals. The people that you would actually consider to be criminal entities. And so, I mean, if you want people on your side with regard to pursuing quote-unquote criminals, actual criminal entities, and dissuading their use of our cryptocurrencies and our cryptocurrency networks, the last thing that you want to do is be telling us that you're regulating it, that you've got everything under control here. Because we already know that's bullshit. It's one of the reasons why we just act without talking to you. Because we know it's bullshit. You don't have anything under control. Somebody could deploy a cryptocurrency tomorrow. It could go in really, really wide circulation and really wide use. In a blink of an eye, you'd be transacting billions of dollars in just hours, days. And you're back to square one with all of your enforcement efforts and all of your schemes that you're going no. See, as soon as you draft up a barrier, all you're saying to the people that are involved in this space is, okay, there are certain activities that we can't do within the United States without having to report to anybody, and so we're going to do those things in another jurisdiction where the U.S. and all of their allies that are willing to persecute us with their bullshit, we're going to go outside of their purview, outside of their jurisdictions, and we're going to continue with business as usual. And see, the problem with that is, as far as I see it, it's not that the business is going on, that is continuing. It's that it's going elsewhere. If that activity were happening here, that money would be going into the pockets of Americans, and they would be circulating it into the American economy, the local economy here. And that does us good here. But getting stringent with cryptocurrency regulation and monitoring and all that other bullshit, all it's going to do is force entities elsewhere. I mean, you got Ripple talking about they're going to move out of the United States. Ripple. Their big plan was to be something like the Swift network for you guys, but no. Gotta tighten down the screws. And in doing so, you're driving away one of the top 10 cryptocurrencies. And again, that activity isn't going to go away. They're not going to shut down just because they're not in the United States anymore. And so as far as like your ability to regulate them, that goes away when they transition their physical presence outside the United States. Now it's no longer within your purview. They'll go to the Seychelles. They'll go to Zug. They'll go to the Isle of Man. They'll go to Florida. They'll go somewhere where nobody really gives a shit as long as the money is circulating in their local economy. And there's always going to be somebody like that. Because they want that money. Trying to criminalize people, again, it's just going to drive them darker. And, you might net them up. But it's nothing compared to what you would make if you just let them do what they were doing as they were doing it before. I mean, sure, you're not going to be able to tax every single transaction. There's going to be shit that falls through the cracks, but the less hard you push on it, the lower percentage of it is actually going to be quote-unquote criminal activity, and the majority of it will transition to being legitimate commerce, or what you would normally consider legitimate retail commerce, where your local shops are providing goods and services in exchange for cryptocurrency. And again, those businesses would be using it to their advantage in transitioning it into fiat at their leisure, possibly at an appreciation in value or relative value. And again, that's good for them. That is good for Americans. Because then they have more money and they can they can buy more boats, they can buy more houses, they can buy more cars. And all of that is good for the American economy. They can start businesses because they actually have capital. And I know that's like antithetical to some people, but imagine if you had something that you were doing, that you loved doing, that you were able to do for people on a global scale. Maybe not everybody likes it. Maybe 1 out of 14,000 people like it. But there's a fucking market for it. And when you take a market of 9 billion people, or 7 to 9 billion, depending on what the current number is. I don't know what it is. Anyway, we'll split it. 8 billion people. 14,000. 1 out of 14,000 out of 8 billion people. That's a lot of fucking people that you could be entertaining, that you could be monetizing your activity with, that you could be selling to. And I think when we start looking at the economy and the internet and 3D printing and cryptocurrencies in this tense, these discussions of, illegal this, illegal that, I'm not going to give a fuck. The whole pursuit of violence and control is due to lack of control over your own situation. Is due to violence that you experience in your own situation. There's frustration with things that are going on in your life. So, if you eliminate that frustration, because you can catalyze it and you can turn it into something that somebody wants to buy, somebody is willing to pay you for, you got it made. Do something you love and get paid for it. In money that nobody can take away from you. But I think that the biggest threat that a lot of these governing entities and regulating entities look at is that they look at, of course, the finality or loss of their own job. What they don't bother to look at is the possibility that they would be employed doing something that they love doing, and that they could be making money doing it, instead of what they're doing at like the DOJ in getting involved in people's commerce and calling their shit illegal and whatever. But I don't know. I know I'm kind of pie in the sky on this stuff, but I think that if people knew as much about using cryptocurrencies as they do about, say, using an automobile, or using a desktop computer, or a laptop, or a tablet, or their cell phone, that if they were making the same level of choices concerning things like what they want to store their monetary value in, do they want to store it in Bitcoin? Do they want to store it in Ethereum? Do they want to store it in Monero, Litecoin, Verge, Doge, Bitcoin Cash? What fits your fancy? What do you think will benefit you more? That's the level of choices to be made here. It's like when you're buying your car, which brand do you like? Which one do you think is going to last you the longest? Which one do you think you're going to get the most value out of? Which one do you love the most? Some people are hardcore Tesla fans. Some people are hardcore Apple fans. I'm a hardcore Shimano fan. I love my Shimanos. But it's like, that's all your own individual, thing. Your thing. And like I said, it seems like a lot of what we've been getting in media and whatnot is like absent that concept of choice. And I think that it's surprising, considering that we're coming into a time of almost infinite choice. Now, I mean, if I really, really wanted to, I could be growing, some weird vegetable or fruit that's only available in South America, but I could be growing it indoors in some really controlled environment and whatnot, and be providing a supply of something that is not typically available in this area. And that's all made possible by the fact that if there is any query, any concern, any emergency I may face in this seemingly impossible idea, I can find information about it online. Growing fruit trees indoors with hydroponics. Somebody's done that shit. Somebody has filmed a video showing you how to do that shit. You want to try and impose the Green New Deal in a reality like that? Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, it's beyond imagination for me. How people could look at the future and be like, we're all gonna wear gray clothing, and we're not gonna have male and female anymore. We're all gonna be androgynous, and we're all gonna be treated the same. We're all gonna have the same outcomes. Fuck you. Nature doesn't work that way. People aren't that simple. I mean, we can be encouraged to be that simple, and as long as we're rewarded for being that simple, we'll be that simple. But as soon as that reward isn't enough, we'll start getting complex again. Anyway, let's go and throw back down with some music, and hopefully the program will be a little more cooperative with us. I did what I could to try and get all the funk out of my CPU grill, but that's going to take a little more intensive work after I get offline. But I think I cleared it up enough to where we can at least get by for the rest of this show. So let's go with this one, Regenesis by Textures, here on Coin Metal. And that was Clutch. I couldn't tell you what song it was. Unfortunately, the metadata for half the songs on that album and it was like every other song. For some reason, the metadata on it didn't come through, and so the title of the song avoids us. And so, what else I got on the grill here? I saw this one, and I thought it was especially funny, considering the fact that we did cover most of or a lot of the DeFi as it was happening. And so I got this thing here. It's on news.bitcoin.com. Ethereum transaction fees fall 82% as DeFi hype eases. And this by Jeffrey Gogo. It was authored approximately 7 days ago. So yes, penis. The average cost of sending a transaction over the Ethereum blockchain has fallen by 82% from its September 2 peak, or second peak, of $11.61 down to $2.09 as of October 4th. The decline may be the result of a slowdown in the hype around decentralized finance protocols. According to data from Glassnode, Ethereum miners have also seen a corresponding sharp drop in total earnings from fees over the past 3 weeks. On September 17th, miners raked in 42,763 ETH, or $14.97 million in fees, but that tanked to just 5,898 ETH, or approximately $2.06 million as of Sunday. As a percentage of the miners' total revenue, fees plunged 29% from 69% during the same period. Fees have risen so high on September 1st, Ethereum miners made a record profit of over $500,000 in just 1 hour. In August alone, miners made $113 million in profit, up more than 3,660% from the $3 million earned in April. Compared with the average transaction cost of just 9 cents in April, current Ethereum fees remain excessively high, even with the latest decline. Per the Glassnode data, the absolute number of transactions on the Ethereum blockchain fell nearly 30% to 935,000 on October 4th, down from a 2020 high of 1.32 million 3 weeks earlier. Analysts blame the spike in Ethereum transaction costs on the hype within the decentralized finance space, which has grown into a $9 billion industry in just 3 months. In July, over $2 billion worth of value was locked in the entire DeFi market, data from DeFi Pulse shows. As the DeFi protocols such as Uniswap, Compound, Yearn.finance, Curve.finance, and Balancer competed for block space to get transactions processed through the Ethereum network, fees rocketed. According to Ethereum, protocols such as Uniswap is one of the few with the highest network utilization. Tether, SushiSwap, and Wi-Fi are the others. Now the hype appears to have cooled off somewhat, with major DeFi projects falling by between 30 and 45% in the last week. Ethereum developers have also been testing technical solutions to reduce costs and improve efficiency, including a network upgrade dubbed Ethereum 2.0, but the project is still several months away from coming to fruition. Actually, I don't think Ethereum 2.0 is ever coming. Not until Ethereum 2.0 is launched as a separate project, while Ethereum 1.0 continues on. I mean, it's funny to me. It's like, you know, they invite all the miners, hey, yeah, come and mine for us. You know, be the foundation for our thing. And then they go to all the ICO developers and all the DeFi developers, and they're like, yeah, hey, man, build your stuff on top of our stuff. You know, we got all these miners and they're working really hard and, you know, got all this stuff set up. So, you know, utilize that hash space for something really neat and make money on it. And they did. And they wrote it according to the specs of the current network and based it on proof of work. And so now all of a sudden, or not all of a sudden, a couple years ago, and according to Vitalik himself, it was always on their roadmap to switch over to proof of stake. And I think at the time that I read that, initially I'd said that's not going to happen. You know, I mean, a proof of network is a physical network. It's a network of physical miners. So transitioning from one of those to another such network that's based on proof of stake instead, it's like switching planes mid-flight. You know, jumping out of one plane and into another one, directly into another one. And you have as much risk of losing your network as you do missing the second plane and smashing to the ground. It's a big rock. But yeah, so I've never placed any confidence in the idea that they would switch to proof of stake, and so far they've managed to fail for over a year. I want to say closer to over 2 years now of trying to get the network to switch over to proof of stake, and I don't think they're any closer to it, honestly. But yeah, I think that they're in a really weird pickle because they want to make this change, but at the same time, they still need their network to be robust and capable and active and reliable. So, yeah, for that reason, I don't see the 14,000 or whatever projects that are built on top of Ethereum just abandoning Ethereum 1.0 and transitioning over to Ethereum 2.0 so cleanly. And that's just, of course, my own perspective, my own feeling. But yeah, I think it's really interesting that their transaction fees go up and down just like any other proof of work network. And according to them, on that point, they have expanded the gas limit, and that's good. I think they should probably do it again, even with the transaction fees coming down as much as they have. It shows that there is an upper bound to the utilization of their current amount of gas space or gas limit or whatever. And so, yeah, I think when you're taxing that limit, it's time to expand it. And Bitcoin faced the same issue and still faces this issue. The idea that they're going to transition all of that transactive activity to off-chain solutions, and that you're going to trust it and you're going to use it and everything's been wonderful. No. We've already seen multiple times, just in these DeFi projects and whatnot, where these project leaders pull the rug on their users, sell all their fucking coins at a massive profit, and bail. We saw that with ICOs, we saw it with altcoins, and we'll see that again and again and again until we don't. And I don't think that time will ever come. I think that the innovation in this space will continue, and I believe it'll continue regardless of when any kind of regulations come down or any kind of regulatory frameworks come down. None of that will stop you from using what you want to use. And that's a harsh reality that we're going to face at some point or another. Let me see what else I got here. That was one that I did want to cover, but it's a little bit old. I wanted to keep it kind of current. Oh, that was one. Here we go. And speaking of entities wanting to bump up from one version to another, I've got this report here, and I'm wondering if I should go through this part first. Yeah, why not? Let's go through this part first. This is on cryptonomics.com. IOTA 3.0 Scalable Base Layer DLT through Fluid Sharding Data Sharing. And this is authored on October 10th by Jafrin Ahmed. IOTA 3.0 is set to become, quote, the most scalable base layer DLT through merging fluid sharding and data sharing with its Pollen testnet version 0.3.0 update, gearing up for IOTA 3.0. In a research update for October 2020, IOTA co-founder Sergey Popov published a progress report on IOTA 2.0 with included statements for IOTA 3.0. Popov explained that IOTA Foundation calls its approach as, quote, fluid sharding, and has already, quote, examined it closely. Fluid sharding refers to a scaling solution of the first layer. IOTA's research department also gave a close examination of its second layer solutions called data sharding. Both fluid sharding and data sharding will move IOTA as the most scalable base layer DLT, also called IOTA 3.0. Popov added that IOTA's discussions with various IOTA stakeholders have been quite advantageous in terms of understanding understanding that data sharding can serve the needs of both normal users and corporate adopters alike. Advances on Pollen Testnet. While throwing light on the new sharding approach, Popov also informed on the numerous advances on the IOTA Pollen Testnet. In addition to cleaning up Ghost Shimmer's codebase, a key central point of last month included implementing basic functionality for mana, such as mana calculations, metrics collection, and the first integration with the new transaction layout and wallet. The IOTA co-founder further added in the update, quote, "Specifically, we have proved through simulations that attackers cannot affect either fairness, the requirement that a node sends messages proportional to its mana, or the efficient utilization of nodes' available communication and processing resources. We are currently investigating nodes issue different streams of messages to different neighbors, trying to affect consistency. Preliminary results show that appropriate message drop policies and blacklisting are effective countermeasures." Blacklisting. Besides, new APIs are also added and, quote, "Given the importance of mana, visualization tools developed to which were later embedded into the node's local dashboard for a better demonstration of the functionality." Oh, and so Jafar Ahmed is a female, so no penis. I don't know what to think of IOTA. I think my first impression of them was, I think they're a DPoS project. Not 100% sure on that. But let's look at this report business. Let's see how long this thing is. This doesn't seem very long. I think we can go with it. So let's go with it. And this is IOTA Research Update, October 2020. And this is by Sergei Popov. It was authored October 8th. So yes, penis. IOTA Research Status Update. We are happy to share the following updates from several of our groups. It has been a busy month for everyone on the team. In addition to the work described below, we've also been planning out our next ReSum meeting to be held later this month. We invite all the community to join the AMA with the IF team happening next Wednesday, October 14th at 1 p.m. Central Eastern Standard Time, or 7 a.m. Eastern Time, or Eastern Standard Time on Reddit. We will be answering your questions about Coordicide. Without further ado, here are the updates. Pollen Testnet implementation. This month, the team has been focused on cleaning up the entire Ghost Shimmer codebase. We are taking a similar approach to the Hornet team by flattening the package's structure. This will be beneficial for the development progress and increase consistency between the two projects. We have added a new section to our wiki to describe our approach to error handling. After finishing writing the monospec implementation, the team started implementing it. We have focused on the base mana functionalities such as mana calculations, metrics collection, and an initial integration with the new transaction layout and wallet. We have added new APIs to enable both retrieving mana-related information such as raw values for both access and consensus mana per node, percentile, and highest values, and specifying the ID of the node when pledging mana while issuing a value transaction. Given the importance of mana in our core-decide solution, we have started building some visualization tools embedded in the node's local dashboard to better show how it works, as well as a set of monitoring tools to study its dynamics. Here you can see a glimpse of this work in the pictures below. It gives us nice little diagrams, pictures. In addition, this month we have worked on 2 new RFCs, still in draft version, which address how to reach consensus on timestamps and how to optimize conflict resolution via writing FPC opinions into Tangle. You can check out those here and here. And it gives us little links. From a continuous integration, continuous deployment point of view, we have integrated the use of SNCC in our pipeline. Its integration has already helped uncover some security issues within the JWT library we currently use to protect the access to the APIs. This tool will help us keep our code more secure throughout its development. The DRNG experiment, which started last month with the community-driven Ghost Shimmer X team, has been fully successful. The community managed to create a distributed committee of 7 members and collectively produce fresh randomness every 10 seconds with no interruption for more than 2 weeks already. You can see a screenshot below of some of the randomness shown in the Ghost Shimmer local dashboard, and it gives us some dashboard readouts. We are constantly monitoring the performance of our DRNG solution based on the DRAND project. Within the last 2 weeks, the distributed committee has been able to run a threshold-based signature scheme, 4 out of 7, and exchange their respective contributions to produce new randomness under 300 milliseconds on average, as you can see from this plot. It gives us a nice little graph. As for the next steps, we will very soon release a new Pollen testnet version 0.3.0, with the community-driven DRNG as the default one. Pollen Testnet Study Group. As the implementation of the Pollen Testnet advances and it incorporates more and more of the core-decide modules, it is time to analyze the testnet properly. For us researchers, these are exciting times. Core-decide involves many modules that we developed and studied on paper and validated through simulation studies as standalone modules. The time has come to see all different modules interlock and come to life as a whole. The dashboard in Pollen already offers an excellent overview of various components and their performance in Pollen. While this information delivers many good indicators about the proper functioning of the testnet, the final aim of this group is to obtain scientifically sound evidence for the claims of core-decide. We look forward to sharing more results on this endeavor soon. Protocol. This month, the Protocol group continued its work wrapping up the few final remaining theoretical questions about IOTA 2.0. One of the main topics we discussed was synchronization between nodes and tools that the node could use to detect if it is out of synchrony. Aside from this, we further developed the specifications about bootstrapping and deepened our discussions about tip selection, game theoretical behavior. Although the URTSA, Uniform Random Tip Selection Algorithm, works very well, IOTA's philosophy of freedom means it is non-enforceable, and thus it is ultimately up to the node operator to choose which one to use. The research on TSAs has to make sure that TSA is the best option for a node to use under standard assumptions. Next month, we plan to finish the mathematical investigation of TSA and incorporate our conclusions into the relevant specifications. Networking. We are focusing our efforts on an extensive attack analysis on the congestion control algorithm. Specifically, we have proved through simulations that attackers cannot affect their either fairness, the requirement that a node sends messages proportional to its mana, or the efficient utilization of nodes' available communication and processing resources. We are currently investigating more elaborate attacks where malicious nodes issue different streams of messages to different neighbors, trying to affect consistency. Preliminary results showed that appropriate message drop policies and blacklisting are effective countermeasures. We're happy to communicate that our research paper, HealthOR, Protecting the Weak and Heterogeneous DLTs with Health-Aware Flow Control, has been accepted for publication at the 4th workshop on scalable and resilient infrastructures for distributed ledgers. The work shows how it is possible to adapt our congestion control algorithms in case of intermittent connectivity through feedback from neighboring nodes. Additionally, we are designing a distributed random number generator based on verifiable delay functions which can be used as a second source of randomness. The first source of randomness in Corticide comes from a DRNG based on threshold cryptography. Sharding. As many of our community members are aware by now, we have been looking closely at our sharding approach, which we call fluid sharding. Our goal for fluid sharding is to build the most scalable base layer DLT that one could possibly build. Suffice it to say, this is no small task, although we are very confident that our team's ability to deliver. A high-level view of this approach can be found here, and we're not going to click on that. As we begin to engage with this topic more formally, we undertook an extensive literature review of existing approaches and solutions to make sure our team is up to date with all the latest research on sharding. Our aim was to investigate current research to also improve the security of our own solution. Our readers are likely familiar with the notion of first layer and second layer scaling solutions, and we are looking at incorporating both of these approaches to scalability in IOTA. Fluid sharding refers to our layer and our layer 1 scaling solution. We are also looking closely at what we refer to as, quote, data sharding as a type of second layer solution. Our talks with various IOTA stakeholders have been fruitful in understanding that data sharding does indeed serve many needs of normal users and corporate adopters alike. We believe that ultimately both solutions will be developed, and together they will comprise what might be described as a fully sharded IOTA 3.0. Thanks for reading. If you have any questions or just like blah blah blah. Yeah. So, I think they still get a tax on the IOTA network. I'm not really sure on that. But it is interesting to see that they are trying to push forward. How it will turn out, hey, it's anyone's guess. You know, I'm the last one to cast any dispersions on people's attempts at trying to do better. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down with some music. And what to go with next? I know. Motorhead, Ace of Spades, here on Coin Metal. And that was Vola with The Same War. And it is with that I'd like to bring this episode to a close. Thank you very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate the support. We will be back again on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I'd like y'all to trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And as far as our last dance is concerned, I have not picked one out. Although, I got one kind of like bumbling around in the back of my mind here. If I can just find it, here it is. White Zombie, Thunderkiss, 1965. Last Dance, here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening, and y'all have an excellent evening. Good night.